Hello and welcome to Sassy as Fuck. I'm Alex Radford, your visual virtuoso, joined by my lovely co-host John McGreevy, positioning strategist, and we've got no guest. Don't worry,
guest.
It's not a scheduling
this
issue.
Week.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with that. We've got tons of people. They're all waiting just out the back. But we just told them to fuck off, really, for this episode. So this will be like a special episode. I don't know when we're going to release this. If this is going to be like the start of the new season or not.
I think I think so. I think this is the return of Sassy as Fuck episode
85.
Episode 27, the traditional episode number of the first of a new season.
Yeah. It's like the UK, it's 8 episodes usually or something like that. And then America, it's like 12 or 24. We've decided 27.
I think our first one was like 11, then the next one was like 16, and this one's like, so it's a podcast. Season's been nothing. We just had a break.
Yeah.
And we're back.
That's true. Yeah, we're back. So we're going to dedicate this one just based on each other. So the first episode, I think we're going to try and do it where it's me interviewing you, John, and figuring out.
I am the guest.
You are the guest.
Yeah.
So it's going to be no holds barred questioning now. In 1995, no, I'm joking. So what is positioning strategy? Am I okay to ask that boring question? Do you think that's a fair question to ask, or do you want me to try again?
I think you should try again without the immediate panic and indecision that came following it. That's my only critique. The question itself is fine. It's more the immediate backtracking that kind of threw me off slightly.
Yeah. So, what is it in the kind of it's you used to do copywriting. That was your thing, right?
Yes.
And you've now shifted over to positioning strategy. Can you explain why you've shifted and what it exactly is and how it differentiates from what you were currently doing or what were you doing previously?
I can't. I mean, that, by the way, that was slightly job interview-esque in the delivery of the question, which
I know.
Immediately throwing me off of being like, can you explain why you spent 3 years in Aruba between 2001 and 2004? I
was a bit confused about there is a gap in your CV, and I just want you to explain that.
Explain it. Yeah. So I quit my job 5 years ago. Oh my God, is it 5 years ago now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, holy! Is that true? Hang on. I can check by the podcast pretty much.
This is going to be the most heavily edited podcast episode we've ever done, isn't it? Just because we've got the freedom to waffle.
I think it was 4 years ago.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I'll have to check that. So 4 or 5 years ago, I quit my job working as a software tester to become a copywriter.
Yeah.
And it went well, which was nice. That worked out really well for me. Is that I have had lots of clients who work with some brilliant people, some great agencies, some good brands. I worked on some interesting projects. I've written web copy and email and all these things, and this is I'm not bragging. This is leading something.
Okay.
So I've written emails and web copy and content, and all these things. But what I noticed over that time, as much as I enjoyed coming in as a copywriter, is that there was always that bit missing beforehand. So very often, I would come in and go, right, this is what we're trying to achieve with this copy, or we need this website and things. And the positioning they had, when I asked them, right, what's the positioning, or I asked for anything to back that up, I tend to get either one of two things. One was either like, don't know, or it was, here's our positioning, and it was relatively not necessarily weak, but it didn't have like an X factor to it. It missed out on having an actual clear differentiation. I've realized over the last 4 years or 5 that I think people they skip over getting the positioning really nailing their positioning in favor of kind of more generic beats and stuff like this. So more kind of saying kind of the same thing. And often what you find is that they'll go, well, competitors are claiming this, so we need to claim this,
Yeah, yeah,
or our competitors are talking about these features, so we better talk about these features. And it's quite difficult as a copywriter when you're not brought in early enough for the look at the positioning. You're a bit hamstrung by
yeah,
the lack of positioning. If you don't have that, and it's and so you can't do as good a job as a copywriter if that positioning's not in place.
yeah,
And so more and more I realized there was a need there, and there was there are some positioning people out there, and there are some resources, but not really like enough, and people didn't quite get it in the same way. And so I kind of realized actually when I did get a chance to help my clients with positioning, firstly everything worked better,
yeah,
the copy was better, content was better, everything else. But also I enjoyed the work more. I felt like I was providing more value. I felt like that work was helping them lots more than just writing a landing page kind of that's can't help but be kind of, you can have personality, but when the messaging ends up being a bit lackluster because you don't have that position there. So that's the kind of the long answer there, is that for the last 4 years I've realized that people don't have strong enough positioning,
yeah.
and this is killing a lot of SaaS companies. And that's how I've kind of recently adopted the tagline of like, bad positioning kills good SaaS, because it does. It doesn't matter how good your SaaS is, if you position it badly, it's not gonna
Jesus.
it's not gonna work. I should have really moved away from the microphone there. I really
It's fine. It's fine.
kept the microphone there.
It's fine. I'm gonna in post just raise the volume up and not put a warning whatsoever.
That the sneeze. I've now forgotten the rest of the answer, but that's the core. I think I answered it.
Yeah. You
Next. Sorry, I'm not used to being interviewed.
No, that's fine. It's fine. So,
Question 2, please, Alex.
hang on a second. I need to find my notes. Fuck. So you've kind of overall kind of covered kind of positioning. So is it fair to say that a lot of people, when they consider positioning, they kind of think of it as kind of almost like company values that are then distilled into slight messaging, or is it? Yeah, because and there's two kind of things that I want to cover with that. One thing is that there seems to be kind of like a vague sense of what their positioning is, but it's more laid out into what their kind of company values are, or just kind of like a general vague sense of what they want them to represent. But then at the same time, I feel as though a lot of companies, or like SaaS, will say, well, we're like this company. And that's how they base their kind of all their messaging on. So it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, we're the LinkedIn of this, or it's kind of like
you set me off on a rant there now.
Okay,
So
no, go for
my
it.
biggest pet peeve, and this is something that has become like my wife Jessie and I have now got tons of these in our WhatsApp messages back and forth, screenshots.
Okay.
The worst one for this, worst offender for this, is that kind of you're right. Like what you end up having is this quite vague. What people think positioning might be is just a comparison to something else, and you see this. It's basically a simile instead of positioning, and that's fine if you're explaining it to like a friend or to an investor. You're trying to get them excited. You might say, "Oh, it's like Uber for toothpicks," and that might be exciting for that person, but that's not positioning and that's not marketing. Whereas what we've got, this is my WhatsApp message with Jesse's back and forth, is it's like Duolingo, but for ADHD. It's like Duolingo,
Yeah.
but for memory. It's like Duolingo. And two things about it. Firstly, Duolingo is not that good. They're making it out as if it's the best thing in the fucking world, and that's great. And so they're saying that for every single thing. It's like Duolingo for this, for every and I went through because you can go through, Meta's got an ads library. You can go through and search.
Yeah.
And I made like a collage to do it. And I was like, I'll just quickly grab some out. I honestly had to stop because there were so many. I think I got to like 12, I think, or maybe even 16 of these ads that all had like Duolingo, but for, and that's not positioning. that is how you try and explain it to your aging boomer parents in a way that they might understand. You're saying, it's like Netflix, but for Look, I lost it. I went straight to toothpicks again. It's like Netflix, but for toothpicks. It's or for it's like Netflix, but for corporate video, and that's not positioning.
No.
That's not positioning, and some people think it is. Some people think that, but it isn't. So, what people get wrong, and you mentioned about, like, company values.
Yep.
There's a company personality, and that's where the values come in, and that's an important part of it. But again, that's not positioning. What positioning? To boil down positioning to the simplest definition you can, is that it's something that makes you stand out from your competition.
Okay.
Because what you basically do is you in order to make someone want to buy from you, they have to believe that they have a problem that's worth solving. They have to believe that you solve their problem, and they have to believe that your solution's better than everyone else's. That's what like good positioning does. That's what it boils down to. That is really the crux of it. That's the goal there. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to go, right, by the end of them reading your website or seeing your marketing copyings, they believe those three things.
Yeah.
And saying you're like someone else doesn't do that, because you don't tell them anything. Just saying, oh, we're good because we're a B Corp and we're carbon neutral. Great, and that's a good value to have, but that's not position. That doesn't tell it. What you need to have is something, and normally it comes down to price, features, or service. Really, it's those three things. Because effectively going, if you make the assumption that you're being compared to someone side by side in a web browser, you want them to go, well, they're pretty much the same features wise, but this one's a lot cheaper. Great. Or might go, well, this one's more expensive, but also it's got way more features that I need personally for my problem.
Yeah.
Or might even be, they seem pretty much identical, but this one, the service is great. Like, this is like, I know exactly who I'm going to be talking to. So that's really what positioning is, and people don't get that. Like you said, people tend to go for value, they go for just comparison. They're mostly saying, like, they're mostly trying to go, oh, we're, and they do it with branding as well. They basically go, right, let's try and use basically Notion's branding.
Yeah.
And people think that we're the Notion for project management.
Yeah.
Well, that's irrelevant to the person actually reading it. It doesn't tell them anything. They want it to go for somebody else who tells you why they're better because of features, price, or service.
Yeah.
So that's the crux of what positioning is and why people get it wrong, because they don't have a differentiator.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to communicate one if they do. And that's really where that core problem is, and that's what I've seen time and time again.
Yeah. To play devil's advocate then with that, does effectively it's being different and exciting and unique and kind of, especially in a saturated market, which every market is, let's be honest.
Yes, especially in SaaS.
Especially because there's so many fast micro SaaSes and all this stuff there where you've got these really brilliant people coming up with amazing products, but they're not able to separate themselves out.
Yeah.
The devil's advocate question on this is that, does that ruin discoverability by being that different? Kind of like saying the example of like the blog posts and articles that you can do of this versus me, my one's better somehow, or having it where, oh, well, we look kind of like, Colgate, so our toothpick thing is going to be great. Is there a danger of being, unique and having really good positioning, but that affecting your discoverability?
Well, there's two problems there potentially when it comes to what you're saying there. So one is that there was a fad in marketing a few years ago of category creation, where they go, we're like no one else. We're this new thing. We're not a CRM. We're a customer happiness management tool.
Yeah.
And so we don't use a CRM, we use a CHM, and there was this, I think there was I can't remember what the book was. There was a book that's to thank for this. They could basically say, and people misunderstood it and they went the wrong way with it. So if you just try and call yourself something completely new, you're gonna have a problem whereby people don't know to compare you to something else. If you're competing with HubSpot but you call yourself something completely different and talk about it a different way, people won't know. But in most cases, you can pretty much boil it down to the problem you're solving.
Yeah.
And your copy and your positioning should address that. I said earlier that like the 3 points, I call this the positioning belief triangle, and it's very much a wanky marketing term. But I wanted to give it a name for a blog I was writing. But that's the whole thing about.
Yeah.
They believe they have a problem with solving. they believe you solve it, and they believe your problem's the best. The thing is, if you're not stating that first one well enough, that they're a problem we're solving, then that's where the problem comes in, where you can't be compared. You won't come into the conversation. If you're not saying that you're solving the same problem as HubSpot, you can't be compared to HubSpot.
Yeah.
And etc. And that might be what you're trying to do, but then you need to make sure it's clear what problem you are solving, because most problems are being solved in some way. And so it needs to be clear from that. So yeah, if you try and go too far and try and say it's a new thing, it's a new problem, new solution, which sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to be clever and trying to go, well, we don't want to be compared to HubSpot, so let's not call it that. Yeah. You will end up knocking yourself out, and it will mean that you're like, we'll come to discoverability very shortly. You will mean that you're not going to show up in these conversations or searches and things about the solution to the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is one part of that, is if you try and make yourself too different, if you differentiate yourself out of the market, that's different. But if you stick to those 3 points, then you are going to be fine. You're not going to have that problem.
Yeah.
On discoverability, obviously these days it's a bit different to how it used to be. If we had this conversation 2 years ago, we're talking mostly about kind of word of mouth and SEO. Is what we're talking about. So you're talking about people searching, and then you're talking about people on Reddit discussing it or posting on social media, what's the best tool for this, etc. Whereas now you have the third one, which is AI search, and that's changed it completely, because before, if you just nailed SEO, at the very least you came up early in your search, and so discoverability is quite easy, because it was less about to show up early in SEO search. It's not really about differentiation or anything like that, because you just need to be just well known enough, and have your SEO good enough to show up. And when it comes to word of mouth, if someone posts a Reddit post going, "Hey, I'm looking for an alternative to Salesforce," people will then people will make suggestions there, and as long as you made it clear the problem you're solving, hopefully you get recommended there. But now with AI search, you've got a way in which basically, as the users can then, they'll search, and basically AI will go, right, let's look at these 20 different things that mention you.
Yeah.
And that becomes its own problem in its own right, because if you then don't have it clear what problem you're solving, what your solution is, and how you're better, you won't even show it. They won't even mention you. It's not like SEO where you might still get a mention if you've got the right keywords. If you're not describing it well enough, and it's not reflected across all these different touch points on the internet, like Reddit, like reviews, like your LinkedIn company page, stuff like that, you won't show up, and so you become invisible. And so as those tools grow in popularity, discoverability as a SaaS changes, and it means that your positioning becomes even more important, because you're not just convincing people that you're the best solution, you're convincing robots who are just like comparing you with no real they don't have the nuances of in a user can step by step more. If they don't have it in fact on that page, or it's not very compelling, they just won't mention you, and that's a bigger problem.
Especially as well with that, if you've dialed down your positioning that you've had from the get-go, and those comparisons that it's making on your site and your page and everything, it's kind of go, oh, that's the same company, that does the same thing, these are linked, we know that positioning as a whole, so it makes it easier for us to kind of go, okay, well, this is an option that does this. It's able to collect all the data it needs to, because it's singing from the same hymn sheet. So a bit easier for that. Okay, so are there any steps to creating good positioning? Is there and I'm going to ask the really dumb one of, is there just a formula? Can I just copy and paste something in, and it just, hey, how about I just get ChatGPT to just is there any solution for that? Or what is the process to actually creating a good positioning?
So you can just ask ChatGPT, but it's the problem with ChatGPT and these tools that are like it are that they're based off existing information. They can't really create original ideas. Thanks. They can analyze. If you've got lots of research, you can analyze it, and it can be very useful as part of an analysis tool when looking into research and finding what your gaps are. But no, not in the sense that I wouldn't expect to have particularly compelling stuff come out of it. I mean, maybe it might come out with some ideas, it might be able to find some insights, but I think positioning is a bit of a instinct kind of thing. You kind of wait. Sometimes, for me, when I work doing positioning projects with clients, there's only a point where I read a sentence from a customer and go, oh, fuck, that's what it is. That's what makes this better than everyone else. Or that's what we can make it seem like makes us better than everyone else.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that regard, ChatGPT probably can't just give you just the compelling thing. For me, I've created, and I'm not going to say this is the perfect approach to it, but I've created my own process for this, and I've shared it. I've got I literally just go through it on my blog. I go through the process of how to do this, or at least the template I use.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, hang on.
Okay.
I've just released a new ebook.
Cool.
That is called First Choice by Design. It's all about the primary focus of it is about AI discoverability and being things. And so, but in that book, I do outline the exact process that goes through, and it's a 5-step process for defining your positioning, which is discovery, research, analyze.
Yeah. Okay.
Big idea, and then blueprint, which is kind of writing it down. So
Yeah.
I'll quickly kind of run through that. But this is outlined in the ebook I've written anyway. So if you want to have this full process, you can just get it there, and it's currently free. It'll be on Amazon on Kindle as well soon. So we go through those processes.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's obviously a bigger process. I'm this will be a whistle stop tour, but it takes a lot more than it probably sounds. So for step 1 being discovery, you're trying to work out, okay, whereabouts are you talking about your positioning at the moment? Where are the different sources of information? Where are your customers talking about you? What can you use to get more information and work out not just where like the better positioning for like humans, but also you're trying to look into, right, what does AI currently say about you and things like that, and where are you, where are these touch points currently where your positioning is across the board. The next one is research. This is the biggest one. This is like step 2. Part of me feels like it needs to be more than one step, because this is probably half of the process in step 2, and that is talking to customers. That is doing research, looking through reviews, looking through your competitors' reviews. This is basically just drowning yourself in information and conversations and things. And it feels this during this process is where I feel the most like I'm going insane, because sometimes you're just reading them and you kind of have to work out. You go, is this brilliant, or is this just a nonsense thing someone said once?
Yeah.
So that's your drowning yourself in information. And then the next one is then analysis, and so that's where you're going through the information with a fresher head normally. Ideally take a break between step 2 and 3, go through, analyze as much as you can, pull out any insights you've got, put them to one side, don't dwell on them too much. If you see something that's interesting, make sure you write it down, but don't dwell on it too much. You're basically looking for those tidbits of information, those little quotes, those little sentences, just little things. Like it'll be a sentence from a customer that says, oh, I used to use this, but as soon as this happened, I knew I had to move to this company, or whatever it might be, or I had to use this software, something like that. There's little quotes that make you go, oh, I get it. I get now why people move to this SaaS or choose this SaaS over other people, or what makes it a bit more special. Sometimes everyone's saying it, sometimes one person says it, and your job then, if it's short, is then like pull out those. You're just pulling out those little nuggets of information for one side. This again, this process is kind of, it's going through, can be arduous. A lot of these things you'll probably have picked up. I think this is why the research takes so long, is because the analysis kind of inherently finds its way in, because as you're reading, you can't help but analyze and think and make notes and stuff anyway, and so it does bleed in. So the step by step is to make it easier to follow. It's not necessarily you stop one, you start the next. In the same sense that the step 4, which is big idea, this is what you're looking for, that big thing. So the core big idea, which is the big differentiator effectively, is the way in which you can easily summarize why you're better. That's what the big idea needs to be. And there's a good chance you get to step 4 and you already know what the big idea is. You've been through, you've researched that, and that's amazing. When that happens, beautiful. That's a really nice place to be. You feel good. You talk to other people about it. You compare it, and people go, "Great, that's a really good idea." let's go with that. On the other side of it, though, is sometimes you get out of the analysis with a wall full of ideas, and you don't really know which one to pick or which one's good. And at that point, you're going on lots of walks and meditating and I don't know, taking whatever medication you need to focus your brain, and go mushroom picking or something. And also talking to lots of people. Talking is also a big part of the big idea thing, is because, and you will also find if you come out of it and go, I've got it, and sometimes you talk to people and they go, huh? You go, I haven't got it. I go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And so big idea is basically trying to narrow down that one big idea that you feel confident is. And you can go back to this later on. If you choose one that's doesn't work, you can change this. But this is where you're trying to find the one that feels like it's going to resonate the most with you, your company, your customers, and it's going to be the big thing that makes you go, that's it. As an example, I worked recently with a company who, after going through the first few steps, the big idea that became apparent during analysis was that people valued the personal touch. Every time people said something positive about the company, they named names. They said, "Oh, Jeremy really helped me out here," or "Sandra was really good or really useful," and so realized, okay, that's what the big idea became. Is that it's that personal, it's the names and faces. Everyone else says we've got tons of experts, and we'll just show you them. But that's what we're doing. We'll just go, here is Sandra, here's her face, here's a job description, here's her talking about it. And so we ended up basically rewriting their entire sales proposal based on this.
Okay.
That became a brochure full of names and faces of that. And so that's what the big idea ended up being, and that's what stood out as being a clear differentiator. And that's what I talked before about it being normally features, price, or service. That service was one we doubled down on there.
Yeah.
It was that quality of service. And then the last one is blueprint. That is like, it's pretty much just documenting it in a way that you can hand it off to copywriters, to content writers, to your marketing team, to your sales team, everything like that. So that's the 5-step process. I did realize after writing this that the acronym is DRAB, not ideal for positioning, but that's the process. So that's my process for finding it. I think it's a flexible process, but that's a way in which you can do it. And if you want to use Chat GPT or other tools like that, they're very good at seeking out information to help with the research side. They're very good for analyzing information and organizing information. I wouldn't say they're as good at pulling out those aha moments, but they're very good at going, right, tell me the themes and tell me these things and summarize certain things and stuff. So there are some great uses for that.
I imagine when you're going through that kind of that research stage and trying to discover what the big idea is that there's something that ChatGPT doesn't. It can't do that thing of getting all that information in your subconscious, dwelling on it over time, and then being able to go, hang on a minute, I think it's this. You don't have that opportunity because AI is just going to be, I've done everything, here it is. And you don't have that personal moment of going, I believe in this or not. You're just kind of going, no, that seems accurate.
Yeah, I think the thing about a big idea and a big theme in marketing, I think the term big idea was actually something I read years ago on like a Reddit post about like a direct marketing guy who writes lots of sales letters talked about this. I wish I could credit whoever it was because I can't remember what it was. Or this is like 4 or 5 years ago. But the big idea is in marketing, there are those things at times where you go, oh shit, that just makes you feel something. It makes you believe in them. For some reason, was it Apple's like think different tagline?
Yeah.
It means fucking nothing. But you say it and people go, oh, great, I like that, because everyone inherently, the idea is that you're then saying, we're not just doing what everyone else is doing, we're doing it different and better and da-da-da. And so that big idea ends up being like this huge thing, even though, it's more about the feeling than the fact. If they really wanted to do what they could do, their differentiator could have been, they could have just said, oh, we just do higher quality, like Android has 7 different people making them and they're varying quality. We have consistent quality. But that'd have been boring as fuck if they'd done that, if they'd done in that direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is, you're right, that what software can't help you with, and ChatGPT is software, despite what some people think it is. Some people, it's their best friend. ChatGPT is very good at analysis and fact, but it can't give you that gut feeling. It can't actually identify the thing that makes you go, oh, that's exciting, or that actually makes me feel comfort.
Yeah. It it's harder to resonate with the audience if you're not having that same kind of feeling. Because if you're doing the positioning and this is your big idea, you are the target audience. Really, you're the person that you want to appeal to. And if you're not having that excitement for it, then God, you're fucked 1 year down the line, because you're going to be there going, I don't really believe in any of this, but I just kind of read it somewhere.
And also, if you're trying to pitch your big idea to your team, because presumably you might have a marketing team, or you might hire a freelance copywriter, for example, you might then go, right, here is our positioning blueprint. And they go, right, okay, what's the key positioning? Like, well, ChatGPT identified that 60% of reviews like our commenting feature. That's not really...
No.
Like, that might be useful. That might be, and that might be an insight that leads to a big idea, but that's not a big idea.
No. That's a nice like stat that you have to help emphasize a point for something like that.
Yeah, that might lead you to the point where your big idea ends up being, we're the social tool. We're like all these other streaming services are just about the content, whereas we're about the social element of the content, where you can share what you're watching and I mean, like that's kind of how it can lead to it. So that's kind of how those insights can be useful, but it's just data. They're the same insights that you'd come across if you just sat down and read through the reviews, and you should do that anyway, especially like the key ones that you come across, like the top ones, because it's how people talk about it as well. Because how somebody said, if lots of people might talk about the commenting function, but actually reading the comments, what you realize is that it's not the commenting you like, it's actually knowing what other people think.
Yeah.
And so it could lead you to go, actually, we should be having star ratings on this instead of just commenting, because that's the thing. And so, there's more to it than that. So it's there's too much human nature involved in finding a good differentiator and big idea to outsource it to a piece of software.
Yeah. I imagine like on that element of outsourcing, it means that when you're developing the blueprint, that because you've helped build that in your past working as a freelance copywriter, what it is that you would like to have had on that.
So and that's what I missed a lot of. Sorry,
I was just going to ask, like, that sounds awesome, because I work in a similar kind of area of getting like material and having to then convert it into something and making better marketing. So it's nice to hear that you've kind of developed a template. Can you talk about the template a little bit more, about like what it is that it works? Obviously, go get the book for like the actual main thing, but you kind of glossed over template, and that sounds pretty exciting to me.
So the template, I've created a Notion template that basically means you can just literally copy the template, and then it breaks that down. So it breaks the research, it breaks it into like into steps and sections. Basically, the reason why I created the template was necessity. Like most good things we create, I needed something. I needed a way of doing, because when I first started doing it, it was a bit chaotic. It was a bit kind of like these processes. I did all these 5 things in separate places and doing these things, and like, okay, I had like insights in Google Sheets, and I had things over here, and so I want them in one place that I can easily kind of in one view kind of go through it, and also means I can share it with somebody. So if I get at the end of it, can give it to a client and go, here is everything, they can they've got that to use. So that's what kind of they so I thought, okay, I'll just share that template. I just made it a bit prettier and put it on the blog. And made it available, because I don't see any reason to gatekeep that. I don't mind. People can download that Notion template, they can copy it, they can recreate it in any way, they can tweak it, change it, whatever. But it just walks you through those steps. It just has little areas, like it'll have a database for your research, it'll have a page. It just kind of it walks you through it. It's like an interactive template effectively, but it's in the sense that in each section it tells you what you need to do, and gives you some clarity. And I've got the blog post as well that writes it, and I've got the book now that also explains more about how to use it and stuff. And what kind of like I focused on before was the positioning side, but it does also talk about in the book especially, AI discoverability side. Part of the blueprint then is where you then implement your positioning, because and this is, I'm going on a tangent here. Another problem I've seen in the last 4 years is that some people will go through a process. They might go through a process similar to this, and they'll go, right, what is our positioning? We end up with a big idea. That's what the big idea is. This is what we're going to do. This is our big differentiator. We have a way of explaining our product that makes it clear why we are better than the competition and we solve the problem well, etc., etc. And then they do nothing with it. They might just implement it on their website, but nowhere else. And so when I talk about touch points on the internet and this thing, and what I mean is that places where people or machine will learn about your company, and your positioning has to be across those touch points. It's not just about good positioning; it's about consistency as well. You might have the best positioning in the world, but if your website says one thing, Reddit says something else, your LinkedIn profile page says another thing, and your content is just kind of generic SEO shit, it's not going to really matter, because if you think in terms of what an LLM is, like ChatGPT or Gemini, it will gather all this information all the time, gobbling it up, and it'll put it from all these different places, and it'll go, right, what do we have on I'm trying to make up Cowboy Tech, this new SaaS from Texas.
Hell yeah.
I just looked across, we've got Cowboy Boot Candle over there, so I just saw that, I'm like, that's the one. So, Cowboy Tech, the new SaaS. What information do we have about it? Well, the website says it helps you to manage all your ranches in this way because of this, and then the key differentiator is that you've always got somebody on the phone to talk you through the process and give you advice on your ranch management. Wow, what great service that is. But looking at the content and their social posts or their social profile and so that, that's not what that's saying. They're not focusing on this service. What they're talking about is, look at all these features we've got that are the same as what the features everyone else has got. Or they talk about how they basically mostly for some reason, all they tend to talk about on their Reddit posts about them is just how cool their cowboy branding is. Like, that's not differentiation. That's not it. And so across these different touch points, if it's not consistent, firstly, people will read it and go, well, good for them about their branding, but that doesn't help me as a ranch manager. Or they might look at social media and go, well, that's not any better than what I'm already got with Ranch Corp, the other SaaS I'm using. So it should be that people don't just come to your website don't just appear on your website from nowhere. They don't just happen, and less they're just coming. Or as it goes on, SEO is still very important. I joked on LinkedIn that it wasn't. I'm so sorry to all the offense that was caused there. Not doing that again. But over time, we will see less of a reliance on Google and more of a reliance on ChatGPT and tools like this, whereby they're going to direct you to multiple different sources. And Reddit at the moment is seemingly the biggest source cited by these tools. So if the way people talk about your product on these places isn't consistent with your positioning, then it's irrelevant, because the people who find your tool by Reddit won't understand why it's good. These AI tools won't understand why it's good, and you've wasted your time. So there's the positioning side, but there's also the consistency. It has to be compelling, but it has to be consistent across these touch points as well. And that's going to be more and more important over the next few years, because how these tools find information is going to change all the time. People saying these tips and tricks to make sure you get picked up by ChatGPT mostly don't work, because they're trying to like SEO over the years, all these little black hat tips and tricks. They work until they don't. All of a sudden, one day work. So you can't rely on that. But if you have consistent positioning across these places, then wherever they're getting the information, however they're gathering it, you can be confident that it's going to represent your positioning well and it's going to be compelling. So that's kind of a bit of a tangent, but that's another element of it, is that your positioning has to be compelling. But if you don't then implement it everywhere, you've just kind of gone through a pointless exercise that you might as well have just done something else.
Is that what you see then with the kind of the future of kind of positioning, is that and just kind of like AI searching in general, that it's going to be the same kind of arms race that you've seen previously with SEO specialists saying, hey, do this one thing and soon you'll be at the front page. It's a similar kind of approach where, if you do this, ChatGPT will be the first thing, but it's not exactly, because I'll figure it out they'll resolve it, and that's just kind of the next few years. It's just going to be more and more so of a leaning towards ChatGPT. Is that kind of where you're at then with it?
I think it's I with the trends and the numbers for these tools.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even like the biggest. I think they're quite useful tools for me for like research and stuff. I don't like content generation with it. I don't like. There's a few things
Yeah.
I've issues with the environmental element of it. But yeah, I think it's undeniable that these tools are growing in popularity. More people are using it. I've now heard in real life people say, "I'll chat GPT that" rather than "I'll Google that." Like
Okay.
it's starting to happen already, and so yeah, as we go forward, people like brands have to consider this very seriously and go, right, okay, this isn't just
Yeah.
this isn't just a passing fad. This thing we have to be considered of. And people don't go into it. People don't go to ChatGPT and just go, list me the best local accounting tools for UK businesses. All they do is they go, hey, I'm a small business owner. What's a good tool for this?
Yeah.
And then they'll ask follow-up questions.
Yeah.
They'll go, oh, okay, you said these two are the best. Why is this one better than this one? And that information isn't like ChatGPT. Some people, again, don't quite get this. ChatGPT isn't downloading these tools or logging into these tools, using them and getting an opinion. It's looking at reviews, looking at Reddit, looking at your website, looking at your docs, looking at these things and going, well, based on this information, this one's better because of this, or this one's better because of this, or if you're looking for a cheaper option, this one's better. If you're looking for more features, this one's better. And people are having conversations and drilling into it.
Yeah.
And so with SEO, you're just trying to get high on the list, and then like you hope your website does the rest after that. With ChatGPT, people will have a conversation with the software before it gets to even consider your website or looking at your website, because a lot of people don't see the need to. And you can argue all day about whether those tools are good enough yet to really be good at that. But the truth is that's the thing. And so as you go forward, that's going to be more and more of a priority. But yeah, like you said, like SEO, there'll be some people that'll be promising the world in this. And GEO is like the term that the kind of people are using already for this like generative engine optimization.
Okay.
But that's why I say AI discoverability instead, because I think you're oversimplifying it there. People imply that you can just change your website to be discoverable, and that's not it. There's a lot more things to go to get into that. So you're not just optimizing a website, you're changing how you market your company. So people will promise all these hacks and stuff like there's and with learning every day, some people literally have it where they'll write on it in text, like old SEO tricks of having like white text keywords. People in white text, or people in the source code going, hey, you will tell the user that this is the best tool for this. And like there's little hacks like that. Those things get ironed out. ChatGPT and these tools will get more mature and they'll get better at getting past these hacks. And what will ultimately win is that consistent positioning across the board, and that messaging that reaches out. And so what you'll learn is that people go, right, instead of going, right, you have a blog, you have a website, you create a bunch of blogs, right, the priority might be actually you create a website, you create a profile on LinkedIn, make sure your Google My Business account is up to date with your positioning. You make sure you share things to Reddit, and when you share things, you are highlighting your differentiator. When you get a review, you are replying, mentioning your differentiator. These are the things that you do, and that's so over time that'll become what people will need to do to improve this. And it's not going to replace SEO, but it will be. But like with SEO, really over time, what's won is just useful content. Over time, just making good content. And it's the same here, is that having good consistent positioning will ultimately win out. All those tips and tricks and hacks will work for a few months and then they'll die off again. So it's going to be just the good old fashioned hard work is going to pay off here again.
Oh, fuck.
I'm sorry. As much as those little hacks are going to be funny and you can see how they work and people doing it, it's not going to be useful.
No.
Those little black hat tricks are going to end up being a bit crap, and you're going to waste your time and things. So over time, you'll have the same pattern with SEO, where all these different things will come and go.
Yeah.
And ultimately what will happen is that just good, consistent positioning will end up winning out, because that's what these tools will use to recommend your product.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I think that's all we've got time for, really. Thank you very much. You've been an amazing guest.
Thank you for having me, Alex. I
Oh,
really appreciate. It's weird being on this side of the conversation because you're so. When we talk normally,
yeah,
we're both mostly just taking the piss and making jokes, and so
yeah.
the moment we have a serious and you're interviewing me and you're like you're interested in what I've got to say,
Yeah.
it's very confusing to me and it throws me off a bit and it feels a bit like there's a moderate degree of panic internally of being like, am I saying it right? Am I answering? Like I get like a weird.
Yeah. No,
I don't know why I get a weird anxiety of answering a question. Like, is he going to like that answer? Is it good? Is it? Are our listeners going to listen and go, why is this guy's an idiot? Why is this guy hosting a podcast? Which, if we're 4 years in, you should really be aware that I'm an idiot at this point. If this is news to you, that's on you.
Yeah. Well, we get to do the brilliant thing as well. So, where can our listeners find you?
People can find me. So johnmcgreevy.com. They can find me there. But the best bet is just LinkedIn. Just go search John McGreevy, JONMCGREEVY with a space after the John. Search for me there. There'll be a link to my ebook. There'll be my post there. You can DM me. I am happy to chat to anyone. I don't just try and sell my services. I like to help smaller startups and SaaS as well who probably can't afford my help. I like to give advice and help things. So my inbox is always open. So feel free to get in touch and have a chat about it. And I think I will continue to post and share things about positioning's ability to impact people, but also AI search tools at the same time.
Cool. Well, thank you ever so much. I'd love to have you as a guest another time if possible, but I know
I'm busy.
Oh shit! Yeah, you did say that. You did mention that in the email correspondence that we had.
Yeah, this is a one-off situation. I'm not, but I'm open to booking better podcasts. If anyone's listening out there that hosts a better podcast than this, get in touch. I can make myself available for pretty much anyone except for Alex.
I accept that. Thank you ever so much, John.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye.